So what are architects doing about meeting the challenges of sustainability and the climate crisis? Probably not enough. Practice, the architectural profession tends to work the way it has always done. So it really is probably the clients that have to insist on the measures that need to be taken. But meanwhile, there is new software emerging which architects could take advantage of if they wanted to. So I think it's going to be more and more important for schools of architecture to train students to be able to proactively advise clients on the measures that they can take. The effect of digitalization on future cities is going to be remarkable. It's had a big effect already. We have in architecture had something called building information modeling, where we have been able to use software now for 10 to 20 years to completely represent what a building is in 3 dimensions, sometimes 4 if we're including the building process. This has revolutionized various sustainable aspects of architecture because we can think about what will happen to a building in the long term. We can even, using building information modeling, which is often called BIM, to think about what will happen to a building at the end of its life cycle. Increasingly, we're looking at the opportunity for every component of a building to be catalogued, so that when a building is dismantled, you've got door handles that can still be used in another project. So as software gets more powerful and computers get more powerful, we can start modeling not just one building, but the relationship between buildings. So each building has an information model, but then there's an information model between them. Ultimately, we'll have city information modeling. And this is very impactful because it means that we can start doing predictive modeling with much more good effect. And the other thing, of course, that we need to bring into the conversation is the role of artificial intelligence. So I think artificial intelligence will actually add value to what the architect and urban designer already does. So their expertise will be augmented through this kind of digital agency. So that really requires architects to become, and urban designers to become familiar with what artificial intelligence is, why it's not a threat, but an opportunity. So I think that's where we're going to see a big difference. In terms of my own city, where I live in Melbourne, Australia, what are we doing towards the mitigation of climate change? We've got about 4 major challenges. We've got flood, urban heating, water scarcity, and fire. They're the principal challenges that we have already, and are going to get worse with heating. I have a colleague, for instance, Professor Marcus White, who's a leader in looking at digital responses to climate change to help the cities. One software that he developed actually looks at the amount of solar radiation any point in the city can get. So this means that if someone proposes a building, a tall building, his software gives the council an immediate idea of what the impact's going to be with overshadowing and taking sunlight away. And this has led to a change in the code, the building code. And the other software that he's developed is he has been looking at the relationship to people walking in the street and being able to get to school, for instance, knowing that they will only have 3 minutes maximum directly under the sun. So this is software to help calculate the best routes for walking so that it's as comfortable as possible and there's as shady as possible. And the council, the city council that commissioned this software initially uses this so they can work out where to put trees, for instance. So a planting regime of trees in the streets, not just from an aesthetic or purely environmental, but a practical motivation, which is to provide shade. My own institution, which is Swinburne University of Technology, we got federal funding from the Australian Research Council to initiate a new environment for decision making shared with 4 other universities around Australia. And this is a room that can be reconfigured where everybody can put their digital material up on the screen at the same time. So it allows for people from the community to share photographs, for instance. We envisage a new kind of decision making where we co-design solutions by not telling people what the climate change risks are and here's the solution. We'll say, here are what the risks are. How do you think this is going to impact on your community? And once we've got consensus on that, what do we think we can do about this? Here are some suggestions. But we can only do that if we all speak the same language. And we think that that language will be more visual than graphs or lists of points. The big challenge for all of us is trying to understand the unknown unknowns. We tend to react to what we know, but as we get big data pools, getting ever bigger, and cleverer software for delving into those data pools, I believe that we'll start finding things that we didn't know we needed to know. And that requires a profession to be able to react to surprises.